Oh, are you done? Am I on? First of all, Senator McCain, I'd like to thank you for coming to the state of Utah. I think you're an amazing man and your story is incredible. My dad is also a vet. He didn't serve in the war, but he's with me tonight. My father-in-law served 3 tours of duty in Vietnam, so our family does know what you've sacrificed, and we certainly appreciate you tonight. My question is about Paul Ryan's plan. There are a lot of issues that I have with it, but there's a lot of things that I support in it. The thing that I am most concerned about is Medicare. I am not 55, and if anybody says I am, I'll be offended. But I too want Medicare, and I understand that, you know, part of it is voluntary, but once you start taking out the healthy people in Medicare, the unhealthy people, and unfortunately I've been diagnosed with breast cancer, so I would fall into that category, may not get the quality of health care that I have earned over my life. And I believe I have earned it. I've worked all of my life. I, like you, haven't pulled myself up by my bootstraps, but I went to a public school, so probably not so much. And I also went to a public college. So I'm concerned about Paul Ryan's basic, not the other stuff that he's cutting, and I know there was a lady that addressed that. I understand the budget, but I'm really, really concerned about the voucher program.
First of all, thank you for your family service in the military, and I thought you were 17, but anyway, may I say that if you accept the fact that 2024, by the Medicare trustees, that the system is going to go broke, then we have to explore every option we can to keep it from going broke. And some of those decisions may be tough. Now, Paul Ryan's plan is one that is a template for us to work on. It's not engraved in golden tablets. It is something that we can have as a plan that we can change and adjust as necessary to meet the needs that you just articulately described. So my then response to Obama and Biden is, what's your plan? What's your plan? Don't we have to have a national discussion? One thing about the naming of Paul Ryan as vice presidential candidate is we're going to have a discussion in this country about how to save Medicare, something that Obama and Biden have avoided studiously throughout. So I'm not saying that I support Ryan's plan with every comma and period, but I do say that this is something that we can work on, which then can bring Medicare under control so that these young people in this audience will have Medicare when they retire, which they are paying into right now. Right?
So, okay. Everyone's going to have something. You've got Paul Ryan, and I'm actually very grateful that somebody has got the guts to come out and try and solve some problems and to at least discuss them. You've got Mitt Romney, who will have his own plan. My plans are going to come from the 4th District. I'm going to have my plan. I want you to know that when we sat together as a council, we don't have R&D stamped on our foreheads. We don't have the privilege of printing checks. Yet we came together to find solutions that worked. And if we have people that are at least going to stand up and tell you the truth about the issues that we're facing, that's a start. And I'm telling you right now, the representative that we have currently serving in the 2nd District has never come up with one piece of legislation or one iota of a plan that would start at least a discussion. And so as far as I'm concerned, we have to have these starting points. We've got to have people that are going to come to the table. And yes, you may not like everything, but at least we can start looking and pulling things out that we do like, and we can start putting a plan together. Doing absolutely nothing has got us to where we are today.
Hello, my name is Larry Serenzi, and Mia, it's great to see you again.
Great to see you, Larry.
And Senator McCain, I spent the last night before the last election in Elko, Nevada, helping a certain campaign try to eke out a few votes. I don't think we did very well, but we sure tried. Over the last number of years, I, as many, have been watching our country head in a direction that I certainly don't even want to have to tell my grandkids about in the future, other than to say it was a time of the past. At this point, I believe I'm able to factually say our highest median income in the last 50 years occurred in 1969, median. Our highest oil production occurred in 1970. Our highest GDP per capita, thanks to Porter Stansberry, was 1970. You look at the EPA coming in 1970. We go off the gold standard. Where it leaves us now is in a dire, dire mess, of which everything heads downhill except for wealth transfer, one, out of our country, and resource gridlock. We in Utah sit here with what might be the most valuable piece of property on the earth. As you look at the Escalante staircase, right now with what's drilled, that's 2 Saudi Arabias. People do not realize what's sitting down there. When it's finally drilled out, we've drilled about 1/3 of it, it could be over 1 trillion barrels of oil equivalent. That's only one of 15 coal deposits at least 40 miles long and 10 miles wide. Then we get to the oil shale, the 2 largest formations in the world, crisscross right here in Utah. Mia, what are we going to do? And Senator McCain, what are we going to do to unlock what really is, we have the largest resource, we have the largest toolkit to work out of on the planet. What are we going to do to unlock that, to save our state and to save our country?
Elect Mitt Romney. Mia Love, could I just say you're exactly right. Recently, the Department of Interior has expedited permits for people to install in public lands windmills and solar panels. Meanwhile, they have blocked the pipeline. They have slowed any permitting for drilling in areas of public lands that most of Arizona and Utah are public lands. And it's pretty obvious that they believe that all of the answer is in wind and solar. We believe that part of the answer is in wind and solar, but we also know of the untold amounts of natural gas as well as oil that lays underneath the public lands of the United States of America, which in a period of time, and I'm not exaggerating when I say as short as 10 years and as long as 20 years, that we could become energy independent. This administration will not do that.
There's this almost childlike fantasy that wind and solar is going to power America's future. And we have a president that actually took quite a bit of money and put it into Solyndra and lost that money. Now, I would actually say by doing that, he actually took wind and solar, or solar, excuse me, he actually took solar and pushed it back, slowed down the development, because all of these people that were working so hard on their own to develop solar energy were put out of business because they were competing against a company that was backed by federal government. Now, I'm not saying not to explore everything. I think that we need to explore everything. And certainly what we need, Larry, we need a united Utah delegation to take our lands back. That's what we need. My opponent's not going to help us out with that. Hasn't before, will not start. So that's what we need to do. And I'm telling you, if we are energy independent, we'll be more competitive on the global market, we'll create jobs, and when somebody says we're not going to let a drop of oil pass through the Straits of Hormuz, we can say, okay.
I think we can take one more.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
There's somebody with mic.
I just came from spending 10 months as a political and economic analyst in Ukraine for a think tank. And what you're saying is exactly true. It's a bunch of socialists going bankrupt. And when you talk about the Medicare problem, As Paul Harvey used to say, I'd like to give you the other side of this story. Unfortunately, I turned 50 years old this year. 5 years away from getting
You earned it. Just own it. Own it.
Yeah, but I have a family history of diabetes and of cancer. And as close as I'm here to tell you that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to fix. And even if I have to get less benefits in order to solve a problem to strengthen America, I'll do that. But Senator McCain, I'm really big into foreign policy and intelligence, and there's some magazines I read like Foreign Policy and The Economist that aren't exactly the most conservative papers in the world, but I would like to know, you made a comment earlier about American intelligence having suffered through Obama, and I would really like to know some specifics because I know you're right.
Well, first of all, my friends, after we got bin Laden, and it was a great thing, and the president deserves great credit for that, immediately his counterterrorism advisor, Mr. Brennan, gave details out about the raid, including the fact that a doctor who, as you know, has helped us, a Pakistani doctor who helped us identify where bin Laden was, is now in prison for 33 years, put in prison by the Pakistanis. SEAL Team 6 was identified. It's identified by the White House. Every member of SEAL Team 6 from now on lives under the shadow of a threat. They obviously did not need to be identified. I can assure you, I'll give you one more example. There's an individual who works for the New York Times, his name is Sanger. He wrote a book, and in his book, he wrote that he was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The president was there. He was in the hotel where the president was staying. The guy tapped him on the shoulder, took him up to the presidential suite. President Obama was not there. But in the presidential suite, he was briefed with photographs and everything else about the Iranian nuclear buildup. I mean, it's everyone that I know of, every military guy I know, everybody that I know that's is involved in national security thinks this is terrible. This is terrible, these leaks. And they leak into order. The first question when there's a leak, you ask yourself, who benefits? Obviously, these leaks were intended to benefit the President of the United States, who is the weakest president on national security that we've had since James Earl Carter. And that's the fact. But I'd like for me to wrap this up. But, you know, a lot of times I hear from people. In fact, I was on a radio show in Phoenix this morning, and someone called in and said, Senator McCain, what can I do? What can I do as an individual? I'm worried about the future of the country. I'm worried about jobs in our economy. What can I do? Well, you know, and I gave him a few words of wisdom. But, you know, if you're asking that question, there's something you can really do between now and November the 6th. You can make sure that everybody votes. You could make sure that every one of your relatives and friends, even your mother-in-law, has an absentee, well, maybe not, but has an absentee ballot. This election is going to be a close election. The eyes of the nation will be on this election on the night of November the 6th, have no doubt about it. And it will, you may be up late. And so, like all close elections, it's going to come down to get out the vote. And that's what the outcome of it's going to be about. And I don't want you to wake up on November the 7th and say, gee, I forgot to vote. I forgot to mail in my absentee ballot. I forgot to call my friend across the street to make sure that he or she had voted. You have got a mission just for the next 90-some days, and that is to ensure that when you wake up on November the 7th, you will know that you did everything that you could to send this good, decent, fine, wonderful American to the Congress of the United States of America, where I promise you, you will be very, very proud. Thanks for coming today.
Now I want you to know, a lot of people are I'm going to address this. I know my husband's probably going to just kind of cringe a little bit, but it's okay. A lot of people would like to make this big, I hype about race. I just want you to know, Saratoga Springs doesn't have the highest bond rating because I wear a fabulous pair of high heels. It's not because I wear a fresh coat of makeup or have braids. That's why we've been able to balance our budgets and lead our city to being firm and stable financially. It's because of the solutions that we were able to bring to the table, no matter how difficult they were. And let me tell you, it wasn't just us. The entire community came together to do it. I want you to know I remember who I represent, and that's people. That is you. I want you to know I'm not beholden to anyone but the 4th District voters. We are going to win this race with each other. Look at me. We're going to win this race, and we're going to win it decisively in November. As long as I have you with me, we're going to get this done. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Senator John McCain, for being here.